All right, so get ready because we're diving deep into Finnish real estate investing today.
Sounds fascinating.
It is. We've got this incredible audio recording from a monthly meeting between three really experienced investors in Finland,
Okay.
Jesse, Marcus, and Harry. And they're basically reviewing 2024 and strategizing for 2025.
Yeah.
And what I love about this recording is that it's not just like dry market analysis.
Right. Yeah.
It's like a window into their thought processes, like how they each approach challenges and opportunities. It's like three different investing personalities.
I like that. You get the personalities as well as the strategy.
Yes, sir. Exactly. So like you've got Harry O, for example, who is like the deep thinker.
Yeah.
He's constantly researching and refining his approach. And we actually hear in the recording how this long-term perspective has kind of kept him grounded, amidst all the market craziness.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, real estate investing is as much about psychology as it is about like the actual bricks and mortar.
Totally.
Yeah.
And with Harry, it's almost philosophical.
Mhm.
He spends months, even years, like dissecting strategies before he makes a move.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a stark contrast to Jesse, who's much more action-oriented, always hunting for the next deal.
So you've got the patient strategist and the deal maker.
Exactly. And then we have Marcus, who brings in that like hands-on perspective.
Yeah.
He's all about the nuts and bolts of renovations
Hmm.
and building strong tenant relationships.
That's so important. I feel like a lot of investors overlook that aspect.
They do. And Marcus is a great reminder that it's not just about crunching numbers. It's about creating value, through those tangible improvements and like actually fostering positive connections with the people who are living in your properties.
It's a people business at the end of the day.
Totally. Okay, so let's jump into their 2024 reflections.
Okay.
They each kind of share their top takeaways.
Hmm.
And what struck me is that all three of them independently arrive at the same conclusion. Like, being a good landlord actually pays off.
That's interesting because you don't always hear that.
Right. And they're not just talking about being nice. It's like a strategic approach to tenant management.
Okay. I'm curious to hear more about that.
Yeah, well, Marcus in particular shares some pretty compelling stories that really highlight this.
Okay.
So there's this one anecdote about a distressed landlord who was like struggling with this really difficult tenant situation. And Marcus actually stepped in and bought the property.
Wow.
Yeah. And instead of just like resorting to eviction, which a lot of people might have done, he sat down with the tenant,
Oh,
listened to their concerns, and they actually like found a solution that worked for both of them.
that's amazing. I mean, it sounds so simple, but so often people just jump to the most aggressive option.
Right. And what's remarkable is that by addressing the root cause of the issue, Marcus turned what could have been a costly legal battle into a mutually beneficial agreement.
And probably saved a lot of stress for everyone involved.
Exactly. He even helped the tenant find a more suitable living situation.
Wow, that's going above and beyond.
It really challenges that, stereotypical image of a landlord, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
It shows that being proactive and empathetic can actually lead to better outcomes, not just for the tenants, but for the bottom line as well.
It's like that saying, you can catch more flies with honey than with vinegar.
Exactly. And it's not just about resolving conflicts. Marcus also shares this example of how he proactively offered a small upgrade, like a new appliance, I think it was, to a long-term tenant.
Oh,
And the cost was minimal, but the impact was huge. The tenant felt valued and appreciated, and that fosters a stronger relationship, right?
makes them less likely to move out too.
Exactly. Less turnover, lower vacancy rates. It's like these small gestures can make all the difference.
It's all about the long game.
Yeah. Now, another interesting point that came up in their 2024 reflections is they all prioritized hands-on property management,
Okay.
like over chasing macro trends or trying to time the market.
Interesting. So they're not like glued to the news and the latest predictions.
It seems like they've kind of tuned out the noise and focused on what they can control.
That's a good approach, especially in a volatile market.
Yeah. And they all kind of express this sense of relief in doing that. Harry especially mentioned how his years of in-depth research gave him the confidence to just stick to his strategy.
Makes sense. The more knowledge you have, the less you need to panic about every little market fluctuation.
Exactly. So it's like he built this internal compass,
Yeah. Yeah.
guiding him through the ups and downs.
And it paid off, it sounds like.
It did. And that brings us to the next part of their conversation, 2025, and the Finnish real estate market.
Okay. So what are they thinking?
Well, they all seem pretty optimistic about a potential shift towards a buyer's market.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Are they basing that on anything specific?
Yeah. It's not just like some gut feeling or, some guru's prediction. It's rooted in what they're observing on the ground.
Jesse actually calls them silent signals.
Silent signals. I like that.
Yeah.
What does he mean by that?
So he's talking about things like an increase in properties being listed below market value.
More motivated sellers who are willing to negotiate. And just like a general cooling off of that, frenzied buying activity that we saw in 2024.
So it's like a shift in the overall sentiment.
Exactly. And it's not just anecdotal evidence. Jesse's been actively acquiring properties throughout 2024.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he mentions having bought close to 300 apartments.
Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah, it definitely suggests that even in a supposedly cooling market, there are opportunities out there.
For those who know where to look?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But as with any market shift, there are differing perspectives.
Right.
So while Jesse is excited about the potential for aggressive acquisitions, Harry is a little bit more cautious.
That makes sense. He's always been the more conservative one.
Yeah, he emphasizes the importance of not getting caught up in the hype and just sticking to his proven strategy.
Slow and steady wins the race.
Right. Cash flow, steady returns. That's his focus.
It's a good reminder that even in a buyer's market, not every deal is a good deal.
Yeah. You got to know your numbers and have a clear investment thesis.
Absolutely. So we've got the optimist and the realist.
Yeah. And it highlights the importance of risk tolerance, right?
For sure.
Jesse, with his deal-maker mentality, is comfortable taking calculated risks. Harry prioritizes stability and predictable returns.
Yep.
And there's no right or wrong approach.
It's about finding what works for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about this potential buyer's market emerging in Finland in 2025.
Right.
But let's really dig into how these investors are actually planning to approach it. It's fascinating how their personalities and their risk tolerance really shape their strategies.
Yeah, it's like a real-world case study in behavioral finance almost.
Totally. So Jesse, for example, is clearly energized by this prospect of a buyer's market.
Makes sense. He loves a good deal.
He does. He thrives on finding those deals, negotiating favorable terms. He's always thinking a few steps ahead. It's like a strategic game of chess for him.
So he's not just going to jump on any property that pops up.
No. He's been actively acquiring properties throughout 2024 already.
Yeah, we talked about those 300 apartments.
Exactly. But he's very deliberate about it. He emphasizes doing your due diligence and recognizing those silent signals in the market.
Right, the silent signals. So remind me what those are again.
Yeah, so he's talking about things like a property being listed below market value, for example.
Okay.
Or a sudden price drop.
Hmm.
Maybe the seller's really eager to move things along.
So it's like reading between the lines.
Exactly. He also talks about the importance of understanding the seller's motivations.
Okay.
Like, why are they selling? Is it financial distress? Is it an inheritance? Do they just need to move quickly?
I see.
By understanding the why behind the sale, he can tailor his offer and his negotiation strategy.
So it's not just about the numbers, it's about the people, too.
Totally. It's about human psychology, recognizing opportunities that other people might miss. Now, contrast that with Harry's approach.
Right, Mr. Steady and cautious.
Exactly. So while Jesse's out there, ready to seize those opportunities, Harry's much more grounded.
Yeah, he's not going to get swept up in the hype.
Nope. He sticks to his strict investment criteria.
Yeah.
Focusing on properties that meet his long-term goals.
Cash flow appreciation.
Exactly. And he's not afraid to walk away from a deal if it doesn't feel right.
Even if it looks good on paper.
Even if it looks good on paper. He understands that the best investments are the ones that fit your strategy and your risk tolerance, not someone else's.
It's about knowing yourself as an investor.
Yeah. And he even says that, if nothing suitable comes along, he's perfectly content to just pay down existing loans and let his cash flow compound.
Wow, so he's really in it for the long haul.
He is. It's a very disciplined approach.
And probably takes a lot of patience.
It does. So we've got Jesse, the opportunistic deal maker, Harry, the patient strategist,
Yeah.
and then we have Marcus, who's doing something totally different.
Right, he's focusing on his existing portfolio.
Yeah. This is where his hands-on approach and his talent for building relationships really comes into play.
You're talking about that renovation chain he's got going on.
Yes. It's such a clever strategy. He's basically figured out how to upgrade his units continuously without having to deal with those vacancy headaches.
Remind me how that works again.
So he identifies tenants who are interested in moving to a newly renovated unit.
Okay.
Then, as units become available for renovation, he offers those tenants the first right of refusal.
I see.
So they get a beautiful upgraded space, and she can start the renovation process without having to find new tenants.
Brilliant.
It's like a perfectly choreographed dance.
Minimizing downtime, maximizing income.
Exactly. And it all hinges on those strong tenant relationships.
Because they trust him.
They do. They know that he's invested in their well-being, so they're happy to participate in this system.
It's a great example of how creating a win-win situation can benefit everyone.
Totally. So beyond just like their market strategies, it's interesting to hear how they're thinking about personal and professional growth too.
Okay.
So Jesse, for example, talks about making space for thinking.
Interesting. What does he mean by that?
Yeah. So he's recognizing that as his business grows, it's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day grind.
You lose sight of the bigger picture.
Exactly. So he wants to create more time for reflection, strategic planning, exploring new ideas. He even mentions wanting to create more video content.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, maybe share his insights with a wider audience.
And build his brand.
Right. And he also talks about delegating tasks. Realizing he doesn't have to do everything himself.
Smart move.
Yeah. Build a team, leverage the expertise of others, so he could focus on the things that he's really passionate about.
It's about working smarter, not harder.
Exactly. Now, Harry, as you might expect, has a totally different approach to personal growth.
Let me guess more research.
Well, he is sticking to his rigorous 90-day morning routine, intense study and self-reflection.
Of course.
But he's adding something new into the mix. It's something he calls cyberpunk studies.
Cyberpunk studies? What does that even mean?
I know, right? It sounds a little out there. But when you understand his mindset, it actually makes perfect sense.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
So he sees cyberpunk not just as like a genre of science fiction,
Right.
but as a lens through which to view these emerging technologies and societal trends.
Okay.
He's particularly interested in the themes of data control surveillance, the potential for both authoritarianism and individual liberation in this digital age we're living in.
Wow, that's deep.
It is. He's concerned about the direction that the EU is heading in terms of data privacy and regulation.
Interesting.
And he believes that understanding these trends is going to be crucial for navigating the future of real estate investing.
So it's about seeing the bigger picture.
Exactly. And he's also really drawn to that like cyberpunk ethos of self-sufficiency and resilience.
Makes sense.
His interest in open source software and self-hosting reflects that desire to be less reliant on those big centralized systems.
It's like taking control of your own destiny in a way.
Right. So it's fascinating how these seemingly unrelated interests can actually inform and enrich your approach to investing.
It's like cross-pollination of ideas.
Totally. So we've covered their market strategies, their personal growth plans. And now let's wrap up this part of Deep Dive by talking about their thoughts on mentorship and knowledge sharing.
Okay.
This is where their commitment to building a stronger real estate community really shines through. Jesse's actively involved in the Finnish Landlord Association's mentorship program.
Oh, that's great.
He's guiding a new investor through the ins and outs of the market.
It's so valuable to have that kind of guidance when you're starting out.
It is. And it really shows that he believes in paying it forward, helping others succeed.
Yeah, because he wouldn't be where he is today without the help of others.
Exactly. And Harry Marys, while not a formal mentor, he does offer paid consultations to people who are looking for more personalized guidance.
That makes sense. He's got so much knowledge to share.
He does. Years of research and experience have given him a unique perspective. And he's willing to share that knowledge with people who are serious about learning.
It's a reminder that investing in knowledge and expertise is one of the smartest things you can do.
Totally. And it also highlights the fact that there are so many different ways to contribute to the real estate community.
Right.
Whether it's through mentorship programs, paid consultations, or just, sharing your insights and experiences with others.
It's all about collaboration.
Exactly. Now, as we move into the final part of this deep dives, we'll bring it all together,
Yeah.
highlighting the key takeaways from their conversation. And we'll leave you with some thought-provoking questions to consider as you continue your own investment journey. All right, so we've really gotten to know Jesse, Marcus, and Harry, their personalities, their strategies.
Yeah, it's like we were right there in the room with them.
I know, right? But I think it's time to zoom out a little bit and look at the bigger picture,
Okay, what are some of the key takeaways for you?
Well, for me, one of the biggest things is just how important it is to really understand your own investment philosophy and risk tolerance.
Yeah, we saw that play out in how they each approached the whole buyer's market thing.
Totally.
Yeah.
Jesse's like, let's go. Deals everywhere. And Harry's like, hold on, let's be strategic about this.
And Marcus is off doing his own thing, focused on his existing properties.
Right. It shows that there's no one right way to invest in real estate.
You got to find what works for you.
Exactly. What are your goals? What's your financial situation? How much risk are you comfortable with?
And it's not just about finding the right strategy, it's about having the discipline to stick to it.
Yeah, even when things get crazy, you know?
Exactly. It's easy to get tempted by those shiny new objects.
Oh, true. Another thing that really struck me was how much they all emphasized relationships.
Yeah, Marcus is a great example of that.
He's like the king of tenant relations.
That renovation chain is genius.
I know, right? It's all about creating those win-win situations.
And it's not just about tenants either. It's about building a network, you know?
Mentors, advisors, other investors.
Get people who can support you and share their knowledge.
Yeah, Jesse mentoring that new investor.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And Harry offering those consultations.
It's like real estate investing doesn't have to be a solo sport.
Right. There's a whole community out there.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive into Finnish real estate investing, I want to leave you with one final thought.
All right, I'm all ears.
So we focused a lot on buy and hold strategies,
Right. Yeah, that's what they were mainly talking about.
but a lot of their insights about market analysis and risk management and relationships,
Right.
those apply to other approaches too.
That's true, like flipping houses or even commercial real estate.
Yeah. So as you continue your own investment journey, think about how those principles might fit into your own strategy.
It's all about adapting and applying the knowledge.
Exactly. Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a fascinating conversation.
I know, I always learn so much from these sessions.
Me too.
Yeah.
All right, until next time, happy investing, everyone.